Honestly, my tour is what I do on my day off. If I've got time off, I go to the beach, I go surfing, I go exploring down the bush, I sit under a waterfall. So that's how I came up with the tour. Hi, I'm Matt. I'm from Sydney Guided Tours, and I'm based in Sydney, Australia. I focus on nature and wildlife, and I promise my guests the best nature and wildlife experience that they can have in one day.
So tell us more about the kind of tours that you offer. Do you offer private tours? Do you have an itinerary that's already set, or do you customize for every guest? Walk us through that.
So what I do is I offer a private day tour, one tour only. And I've put a lot into it. I'm a nature and wildlife guy. I've only been in tourism for maybe 3.5 years, just before COVID hit. And I saw what else was out there, and I decided I'm going to make the Grand Poobah private day tour that showcases everything in the bush and beaches and the coastline and waterfalls and all of that. So that's what I've done. It's a private day tour. I take up to, say, 5 guests in a big car. It's an interest. I'll just touch on the car. The car's interesting. It's in Australia we have Klugers. It's a Kluger. In America, I think you call them Toyota Pathfinders, or so. This is a Kluger. It's big and it's black, and I put these giant. Looks like the US president logo on the side, but it's not. It's a cockatoo holding a waratah flower. It looks like that red thing, and a wattle. They're 2 Australian flowers. So, and I put some flags on the front. So I pick up my guests, and it looks very, it's just a great introduction. But then all the nonsense comes off, and then we go out to the bush. So that's what we do.
How long are the tours that you do? Do they vary in length?
It's a full day. I pick them up at 8 in the morning from their hotel in the city. And then usually my guests, quite often they're from America. And it's their second day in Australia. I don't know why they just come here for 7 days, but they come here. And they've read my blurb, the only nature and wildlife tour that you need to do when you get here in Australia. So it's the second day. The first day they're just recovering. The second day they come and I meet them, and they're all excited and happy, and it's great. And I say, guys, you're in for a big day. And we finish at about 6:30 at night. So it's 10.5 hours. It's a big full day. When I devised this tour, I wanted to do something different. Like I mentioned before, I'm new to the industry, relatively, 3.5 years. And I saw what else was out there. And the visitors to Australia, they see the Sydney Opera House, which is the big, big white thing. And then they go up to the Blue Mountains and they sit on a bus and there's lots of other buses, and it's a 2-hour drive up there, and everyone does it. And I thought, we can do so much better than that, and I was told by private tour guys, I said, because I knew I was picking their brain, I said, we need some fresh ideas. And I thought, well, I know exactly what this place needs. So I devised this tour that goes to a different region, which is the Central Coast. It's about an hour and 10 minutes north of Sydney. But in a day, as I mentioned before, we see so much. And I suggest that, it's pretty easy to walk around and see the Sydney Opera House and Harbour Bridge when you're in the city by yourself. And you can possibly do a city tour. Often people go to the Blue Mountains and it's covered in fog. So what's the point? But my tour you don't, because we go along the coast. So I suggest that have a look at the city sites, but if you want to see real nature and wildlife, don't go to the Blue Mountains. Come on my tour and see the Central Coast, because honestly we see enormous panoramic views across valleys, and we go along the coast and we look at smashing waves going into the coastline, and it's you can in summer we can go body surfing. We sit under waterfalls. You know, other tours, they look at the waterfalls from a distance, but us, we sit under a waterfall with a complimentary glass of a bottle of wine. So that's kind of roughly what we do in a day.
It sounds like with a small group, you're able to navigate into places that are very different than just mass tourism locations. So it seems really unique.
Yeah, it is. And also, because it's a small group, I get to accommodate different levels of mobility and all ages. Like I can do a family, or I can do 80-year-old people, you know, that have issues walking, or young people, like, you know, a few weeks ago, I did some people from Minnesota, I think, and they were triathletes and they wanted something more extreme. So we went off the beaten track, walked down into the bush and looked at, I go exploring in the bush quite often and looking for indigenous carvings and artwork and charcoal drawings. So I knew these guys for fairly agile. So we went right down into the valley and off the beaten track, and looked at charcoal drawings that are hidden underneath a waterfall. And other people, like elderly people, you know, we go and we go along little boardwalks through a rainforest or along the coastline. So it's catered to different people.
It's such an interesting kind of thing to think about, because when we want to explore people traveling and getting the most out of their trips, that's always been one of the big problems with doing a large group tour, is that there's very much a one-size-fits-all mentality, and that doesn't really give travelers the opportunity to get the experience that they want to have or that they're able to have. So I think what you're offering is a really interesting approach, so that, you know, people can get into the kind of things that they want to see. They can adapt to their ability, what they're able to do, and also what they're going to be interested, you know, in having those experiences.
Not only that, is having a small, like I'm just one vehicle. You're right, we can go to little isolated valleys. We go to lookouts where there's no one else there. We go to beaches where only locals go. I go to, and this is another reason I do this tour, and I'm very hesitant to sell out and even get more operators. I look at Aboriginal artwork, and ideally I don't want them exposed to masses of people. I'm happy to take small groups. The national parks know about these, so it's best. I think it's better if I go in with small groups and not big buses or groups of, you know, 10 or 20. Right. So just small little family groups. I say, look at this. Look, the locals don't know about this place. It's in their backyard. You know, and there's giant carvings of Aboriginal men and women that are there for thousands of years. Who knows? Because they've regrooved the charcoal, the drawings, so no one knows the age of it. But we can do that. We can go off the beaten track, and I can spend quality time, you know, one-on-one talking about the plants and the animals and lots of different aspects of the bush. My guests, they go and speak to oyster farmers and you know, hear their story, or we go and speak to fishermen, or we go and chat to surfers. So, you know, it's all about authenticity. But the other thing that we do is, just before I leave Sydney, we drive around and we go to Mrs. Macquarie's Chair. It's one of it's on a headland. It's a lookout overlooking Sydney Harbour, and guests get to see the Sydney Harbour Bridge, which we drive over, and the Opera House. So they tick off the big things anyway within half an hour. But then we're going into the bush, mate. That's it. We're out of here. When they do my tour, they say it's like discovering a long-lost relative, just hanging out with me all day, and they didn't know they had an Australian cousin over here. But it's just so much fun. And at the end of the day, I sit in the car and just go, there goes my it's like saying goodbye to family.
Sure.
Yeah, it's such a great day, and that's why I just love doing this.
So how did you get into starting this company and getting into tourism?
I grew up with a bush in my backyard, and I grew up exploring caves and looking for drawings and animals and stuff. So I've always been close to the bush. Then I got into it. Then when I finished school, I hitchhiked right around Australia for 14 months. And I learned a lot about Australia, and I, like most people in the travel industry, I love traveling. But traveling around Australia, I really it was a very humbling experience to be on the receiving end of generosity from other people. Because every day or every lift, you don't know where you're going, but whoever picks you up is a great person, because otherwise you'd be stuck on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere for days. So that I kind of came out of my shell when I was 18. I started hitchhiking, and I loved it. Then I had to grow up and get a job. So I worked in video production, being a producer and doing documentaries and stuff like that. I kind of got burnt out by video production after 30 years sitting behind a computer, editing graphics and all that kind of stuff. And I saw a career consultant. He said, "Well, what do you really want to do?" And I thought, well, what I'm doing. I'm also a scout leader. I've been a scout leader for 12 years, and I'm always going down the bush exploring. And I also find Indigenous artwork and have them registered. And I said, well, something to do with nature. And he said, well, yeah, good luck with that, because I've got a background in video production. He was clueless. And I asked my wife, and what should I do? And she said, she's from Malaysia, and I always have Malaysian relatives staying with me, and I have to show them around. And she said, why don't you become a tour guide? So I did. What I show my family is what I show my guests.
There was a great statement that I read on one of your posts on your website, that it was the hitchhiker's karmic circle.
Yes.
Kind of bring it together. So I really love that statement.
Thank you.
It makes sense so much for what you're doing.
That means a lot to me, because that's so. What I said about the hitchhiking, I do feel like I'm giving back. I got my driver's license when I was 35 years old. It's a long time. I was hitchhiking, riding a bike, and now it's like I owe all these people a lift. So when you hop in my car, I'm going to look after you, mate. So that's so true.
Well, I mean, I really appreciate the personal approach, because so much of what I'm trying to do with Painted Circle is reminding people that travel is very personal.
It is.
That we're always confronted with these really big companies and big chains, and there are some really good ones out there, but for the most part, we've lost that personal connection in so many ways. But the reality is, many tour companies are run by people who are very passionate about what they do, people who are based locally, people who have histories in places, and they want to share it. And it's all about sharing their home and the culture. And so I really enjoy reading through your website and knowing a little bit more about you, because your company and you seem to be so intertwined. I mean, is there anything else that you would want to share about the kind of experience that someone's going to have when they come on tour? Like, what does the process look like? Do they contact you and you organize a trip, or are you going to propose an itinerary? What's that process look like?
To me, if you have any questions, write to me. But what I prefer is like what we're doing now, just having a quick chat. If you want, if you've got 5 or 10 minutes, if you have any questions, happy to chat. And then, you pay online. It's all bookable on the website. And then I can answer questions like if you're coming to Australia for your first time and you want to know where to stay in Sydney and what to do. And look, on my website, I've got lots of posts and videos on what you can do in Sydney. And then, on the day, I go and pick you up at your hotel and look after you for the whole day. We go and have a nice lunch at either one of two places, by the water, overlooking a Pelican Island, or looking at a beautiful bay. We explore beautiful beaches. It's a big full day, and at the end of it, only recently I started squeezing in, looking at a panoramic view of Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Opera House and the Sydney Harbour from another viewpoint.
Matt, thank you so much for giving us this quick rundown. your links on the website. So I would encourage anyone to get in contact. And it's great that you want to have like a more one-on-one conversation with people if they have any questions. So that's terrific. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate it so much that you're taking part with Painted Circle, a new platform. But there's a lot of people looking for really genuine experiences, places that are locally owned. And so I really am very glad that you're here on the platform. So thank you.
Charles, it's been a pleasure chatting with you.